Hello everyone, my name is Dior Nazarov and I'm going to be doing my presentation on websites within the workplace. The purpose of this presentation is to inform the audience of the way websites are used daily within work environments, as well as give a rough idea about how to make websites when required to by employers. There are two main audiences for this presentation, a primary and secondary audience. The primary audience for this presentation are office workers, because they will be the ones needing to know how websites are used within their work, as well as how to make them. The secondary audience for this presentation are office managers, who need to know what employees know about websites, as well as what employees should be capable of creating to help them better manage their workers. First, we will look at websites and web pages. What is a website? A website is not a web page, as the term refers to all the pages that are designated as part of a given website. One can think of a website as being similar to a building. While it is a standalone entity, it contains many different rooms on the inside, with the rooms being analogous to web pages. This brings us to the next point. What is a web page? A web page is simply a document that is available on the web. Now, can a website be comprised of only one web page? Yes. However, it will be limited in its functionality to only that web page, similarly to how a building's area would be limited to the size of a single room if the building was only comprised of that one room. How are websites used within the workplace? Websites are now being used daily by workers because the internet allows for much faster and reliable ways to distribute information to others within a company, such as for publishing work-related documents and announcements. On top of that, websites are used to reach out to customers as a form of marketing, to display what kinds of products a company has to offer. Websites can also be used to provide quick customer service as well as general FAQ information. Next, we will be moving on and looking over the three main components that are used to create web pages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML is a markup language that uses tags to mark up a document, which gives the document semantic meaning, so that way a web browser can open it, and so CSS can later be used to style the document. HTML is also what allows web pages to link to one another using hypertext. Writing for the web. When creating a document to be marked up and placed on the web, it is important to consider the differences between the way a user reads a document on the web versus on physical paper. User studies have repeatedly shown that users spend most of their time skimming documents on the web because they simply find them harder to read off a screen than off a piece of paper. This means that certain changes should be made to a document before it is placed on the web. Instead of long paragraphs, use bulleted lists. Lots of details in sentences and paragraphs may work well in a written document, but sentences and paragraphs should be kept short for ease of readability on the web. Documents are laid out with tables of contents, abstracts, indices, glossaries, etc. as all part of one document. However, these should be split up on the web and use hypertext or links to link between the web pages for ease of transition. In addition to that, many designers, user experience designers, suggest taking a document and cutting out 50% of its text, leaving only the most essential elements to be placed on the web. Writing for the web is part of a series on user experience, and if one would like to learn more about this subject, please consult literature or other sources of information relating to the overarching subject of UX. Next, we have CSS. CSS is a programming language used to provide styling to web pages. Without CSS, web pages would simply be black and white text documents. CSS does not work without HTML, as HTML provides CSS the document that it will style. And finally, we have JavaScript. JavaScript is an optional programming language that is being increasingly used by web designers to provide interactive elements on top of hyperlinks, which are a part of HTML, to websites. Some uses of JavaScript are in-page tab windows, pop-up windows, and in-page programs such as calculators. Designing a web page. When designing a web page, some elements to add to a web page could be visuals, interactive elements, and graphs and charts, all to help the reader understand the content of the web page. Make sure the website is designed to be consistent, such as when adding a web page to a company site, make sure you include the company logo on the web page. And also, users' eyes follow an F-shaped reading pattern. This means that the most important information should be placed toward the top left of a web page. Now, how does one create web pages and sites? There are many ways. You could do so from scratch, writing all the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript on your own. A content management system can be used, which will allow for consistency within the design of a website and for multiple users to contribute and add web pages. One way to do that would be to use WordPress, also Joomla. There are also free online drag and drop editors such as Wix and Weebly, which can be used, and they provide for a much easier way to make a website, although not as much customizability. In conclusion, so just to recap, here are a few of the main points that were covered over the course of this presentation. Websites are a collection of related web pages. They are used by companies for company websites, advertising, and communication. A web page is created using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and can be made with WordPress or Wix. The importance of websites is that they are an integral part of everyday jobs, and in the future more and more people will be using the web, making it essential for companies and employees to adapt to the internet. Now is the time to get up and make some websites. That is it. Thank you everyone for listening, and that was my presentation about websites.